Hello everyone, BrainBot here, welcome back. Today we'll be looking at the third and final box in the Legacy United Doom and Destruction collection. Now Amazon was supposed to ship this to me last week, then they just decided not to, but I have it now. So we'll take a quick look at the box. So like the rest of the boxes in this collection, the artwork looks really nice. Got Rukus and Bludgeon on the front, Mayhem Doom and Destruction logo on the top, Rukus on one side, Bludgeon on the other, and some product shots on the back. Not much else to it. So what I'll do for this review is I'll take a look at each bot individually, and then we'll do a whole comparison of the Mayhem crew at the end. So we'll start with the bot that I'm personally most excited for in this box, which is Rukus here, who is the last of the 3 Trigger Cons. And he's based on Beachcomber's mold, but he's heavily remodeled. He's almost an entirely new model here. So quick look at his colors. He's got that nice beige here on the chest, purple throughout with these silver accents. Down here on the shins, these are really nice. From product shots, I originally thought these were, just kind of like painted on, but this is actually molded in, and there's some black and silver paint in there to help pick it out. But that's a molded in detail, which is really nice. We've got this metallic blue along with the silver, the Decepticon symbol there on the back. Looks really nice. They did a great job in making the Beachcomber mold look like the original G1. If you take a little quick comparison between the two, it looks a really nice update to the G1. As far as movement on Rukus goes, you can turn his head all the way around. There's this piece up here that kind of gets in the way, but you can grab the crest of his helmet and get him to spin all the way around. The guns here can flip all the way around. They also come out as well. They're actually packaged separately. So they have a port on the back and a peg on the bottom. So if you want to store them here, you can. If you want to have him hold onto his weapons, or you can stick them somewhere, although some of the protrusions kind of get in the way, but if you don't want them up there, you don't have to have them. For the arms, you can go out just about this far before the wheel gets in the way. You can go up this far. Again, there's this whole backpack here that gets in the way of things a bit. Rotation at the bicep. About 90 degrees of bend at the elbow, and you can rotate at the wrists, like so. Waist, you can rotate all the way around. Legs can go to the side that far, forward that far, backwards that far. You have a mushroom peg here at the thigh, so you have rotation there. You have bend at the knee. There's a tab slot connection in there, so if you have it perfectly straight, it snaps into place. So if you want to bend it, you just unsnap it, and you get that much bend. At the feet, you do have an ankle tilt like so. You don't get any forward or backward movement, but the heel piece here, due to transformation, will come down all the way if you need it to. And aside from his main guns, Rukus comes with this blaster here, and this is the same blaster that came with Beachcomber. So it's cast in that same beige plastic that's on his chest and painted black. So you can have him, hold on to it there, like that, in his hand. You can plug it into his forearm, or store it on the back if you don't want to look at it. It's up to you. And here's a side-by-side comparison to show you just how much they remolded on Rukus. So all these extra pieces added quite a bit of height to Beachcomber. And take a look at the sides. We've got new forearms as well as legs. The whole back section is redone. Obviously chest and head as well. So really a nice looking figure. Makes Beachcomber look a little bit like a kid, but Beachcomber comes with a parakeet, so I'd say they're still even. And the Mayhem Attack Squad isn't the only team that's been completed with this box. With the inclusion of Rukus, we now have all 3 of the trigger cons. The original trigger cons, they had a gimmick where you would press a lever or a switch, and their guns would just flip out. So the previous Doom and Destruction set gave us Windsweeper, and Crankcase here came as a standalone package in the Legacy line. And it's a really nice looking team here. If you're wondering why my crankcase looks a little bit different, I have the BDT 3D printed upgrade kit here. So just to add a set of guns that look more like the guns on the original toy that came in, kind of stored in the back and flipped out like this. The original figure came with these little nubs here. You know, when you're shooting at Autobots, it's not really the size of the gun that counts, but for the look of the trigger con, I wanted the larger rifles here. So this was just off of eBay, so if you're interested, you just search BDT crankcase upgrade. I'm sure a dozen sellers will pop up. There's the trigger cons. Transformation's pretty simple for Rukus. So one thing you do that's optional, if you don't want his face sticking out, you can just turn his face all the way around and it stays fairly well hidden like so. Next we'll do the legs. So the legs will peg together. So we have this little post that goes into this hole there. There's a tab slot connection here at the knees. There's also 2 posts at the heels that go into these 2 holes here. When you're reversing this transformation and you're unpegging these legs, just be careful that you don't split the legs apart like this way, doing that motion, because you'll definitely cause some stress on this little peg here. It's not very robust. So when you bring this back into robot mode, just try to pull straight out to minimize any chance of you damaging it. But we're just going to push that together, line everything up, just like that. For the arms, we're just going to leave them bent just slightly to give us some space to work with. On the upper arms, there's this tab right here. I don't know how well you can see it. It's right here. And that's going to go into this slot right there. Just line that up and push it into place. Same thing on the other side. Just like that. Turning the figure around, we have 2 panels here on the back of the leg, so it'll flip out. The heels, we're going to bring them all the way down, just like that. And we're going to rotate this whole assembly around, and it's going to involve unpegging the legs here. There's those 2 tabs I talked about before that go into these slots up here at the knees, so you can rotate this around. And while you're doing it, you're going to make sure that you have to line up these tabs here that are going to go into this slot here. And it's kind of, sometimes it's a little tricky because the hands and everything will kind of want to get caught up on stuff. Let me just bring this into place and finagle around with it a little bit. So if you line that up, and just make sure that those large tabs do go into that slot up there, because otherwise you won't be able to snap everything together. You just help push and guide everything into place with your hands, like that. And once you get that done, let me open this up again. On the bottom here, there's these two little tabs here. They're going to go into these slots here. So once you got the arm tabs lined up and they're in their proper slot, then you'll be able to push this down, and just like you heard there, it'll snap into place. If these are sitting down slightly and they're not in there, this won't snap down. It'll just be kind of popped up all the time. So if you can't get this to click in, just double check the position of the arms here. So after that, all you have to do is we're going to swing these back in, and there's just a post that goes into the hole there. So push that into place. Position the guns wherever you want. You can leave them all the way down like this if you want, or you can bring them up to an attack position if you wish. And just like on Beachcomber, you can take this gun here and you can line it up here. It does go in a specific way, so there's on one side there's this little notch here which is going to fit the tip of the barrel. Just put the post in the hole right in here, push that in, and that'll form the grill / bumper. There's Rukus in his alt mode. Again, really nice representation of the G1 trigger con. The remolding they did with Beachcomber really works wonders here. You can see the feet there forming the windshield. All the other colors from the robot mode are present, of course. As for movement, there's no impediment on the rolling here. It does roll pretty freely. And the tires on here, they're in that kind of like faux rubber material. So that was a nice surprise. And again, here's Rukus next to Beachcomber, so you can see how different the two figures look in their alt modes. And again, the designers did a really great job here in making these look like two completely different molds. Next up, we have Bludgeon, who is a repaint of the last Bludgeon figure. And this one is based off of the 2005 IDW Bludgeon design. As far as changes between this version of the mold and the other one, I don't have the other Bludgeon, but if we take a look here, you can see besides from the color, what they remolded was the head and the chest piece. So for movement on him, same articulation as the previous Bludgeon as well as Tarn. So head can spin around. You've got some up and down movement. Arms can go up and down like this, turn all the way around at the shoulder. You have a mushroom peg right here at the bicep / elbow. that much bend at the elbow. As well, the wrists will rotate, and the fingers are all on one hinge, so you can hinge them in and out. Waist rotates. You can bring the legs out, not quite for a full split. Legs can go forward that far. If you move these guns out of the way, you can get them to go back that far. Rotation here, thigh rotation at the hip. But double jointed knee, so you have full movement there. For the feet, they don't have any side to side movement. You have a bit of an ankle pivot, and you can move the feet all the way down, do the transformation, and you can move them pretty far forwards as well. This gun piece here, it rotates, also comes apart. You have these smaller guns that can come up if you wish. Otherwise, you can leave them down in this position. Got a number of different ports on him to put this. So you can have him holding the guns like this. Blaster in his hand. These also come apart. So if you want to have him dual wielding blasters like that, have him on the forearm. You can stick one to the back and just have him hold on to one if you wish. He also comes with a sword, which is cast in black plastic with some kind of gunmetal paint on it. So you have something like this going on if you wish. There's a lot of configurations for the weapons because of the 5mm port and peg here. You could stick them together to have a really long rifle. A lot of options there for you. And although I don't have the other bludgeon, I do have Tarn to give you a comparison. Now this Tarn is from the Versus 4-pack with Cliff Jumper. So I got two recolors of the base molds. Personally, I like both of these. And one thing I like, since this Tarn came with a sword cast in purple, of course, since they're the same mold, you can swap them. And personally, I like that look a little bit better for both of them. I think the purple really pops on Bludgeon in this color scheme. And I believe he had a sort of kind of like purplish energy sword in the comic, if I'm not mistaken. And Tarn here already had tons of purple on him. So just having this silvery gunmetal sword looks good. So if you have both these molds, you can swap any of the parts on them. Transformation for Bludgeon is just like the other versions of the mold. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to unpeg backpack and let the weapons fall off. Spin this around. Put these back on. Leave that out of the way for now. This chest piece we're going to flip up. Now, the way they remolded this, there's almost zero clearance. So you need to unpeg this to get these arms out. But if you try to give them the same amount of movement that Tarn had, at least, this will pop off. So that part's a little bit annoying. This is an FYI. His head can rotate back into this cavity here. So go ahead and do that. And then from the shoulders here, I'm going to pull out on both sides. Again, the chest piece gets in the way more than it did on Tarn. Okay. And once you do that, we're going to rotate these pieces back. I'm already dislodging the chest piece here. Then on both sides. Just a bit like that, and you can bring the arms in line here because that's where their final destination is going to be. Bring the chest piece. If it pops up, it's just in a groove. You just push it back in. If it's like mine, it's going to pop out a lot. So you can bring this up a bit more now, so that we can bring the arms all the way back like that. Then this will just sit about here. This piece, there's a little peg that's going to go into this hole here. Just push that into place. The feet you can point down. The instructions want you to peg these together, but what I found on Tarn is when you're bending these, because you got kind of a double joint here, this is the only thing that's holding the legs together. And I've got severe stress marks on my version of Tarn, so I'm going to recommend that you don't peg these together until a little bit later. What you can do is just fold these up a bit, and we'll turn back towards the front of the figure. I'm going to take the arms, I'm going to rotate them so that this forearm panel is facing towards you. Grab the hands and rotate them so that the palms are facing towards you. Then take these forearm panels and they're going to just rotate all the way around like that. And then you're going to bend at the elbow here until this angled piece is just flush with the upper arm, like that. And eventually what's going to happen is this is going to come in, and there's a slot that's going to go into this tab here. Just move that out of the way. For the treads, there's a hinge here. I'm just going to open that up, unpeg this piece and bring it around, and there's a tab right there. That's going to go into a slot on the other side. Well, it's coming up, but it's right in there. Just bring that in, and we'll snap into place. And then bring this down, and this tab is going to rest in this space in here. You can plug the arm in if you want, but because I've unpegged this, when we move the legs around, this part of the arm, this arm and leg connection might come unpegged. It's not a big deal, just to let you know. So same thing on the other side. So we're going to rotate this around, rotate the hand around, flip the forearm piece, open up this tread panel, swing this whole piece around. That. Line everything up here. Bring this in. Like that. Okay, we're almost there. So for the legs, what we're going to do is we want to line up this slot on the toes with this peg here. As well, there's a slot further down on the foot that's going to go into this forearm tab here. So we'll start with one leg because we've got a double jointed knee here. We have to play with it a bit to get those tabs and slots to line up. I always line up the one on the toe and the midsection of the tank here first. So you get that in. And if I got mine, this comes untabbed, it's no problem. Just bring this up and everything will be lined up. So you can just bring that tab up into that slot here, and at the same time repeg into that thigh connection. Just like that. So same thing on the other side. Get it lined up, play around with it until it fits. Like so. Get that arm piece back in. Come on. Okay. Then we can push that back together. You can peg this together if you want, but if your copy's anything like mine, that's going to get stressed the instant you move this in the wrong way. I'll straighten everything out here. That's the basis of the transformation. You can bring in the accessories too. So you can, again, there's ports all over this, so you can have this in whatever configuration you want. But the base one is you take this, these two cannons, and these two tabs are going to go into these two slots up here. I'll put that in there, push it together, like that. There you have Bludgeon in his tank mode. And aside from the color, the only thing that's different from the previous Bludgeon and Tarns is this front piece right here. But it is a pretty decent looking tank. Again, aside from the hands sticking out, which is a problem on all versions of this mold. But from the front, it looks pretty decent. And you can store the sword on if you want. There's ports all over. Officially, have you plug into one of the side ports here, like so. And for a quick comparison with the recolor of Tarn. And here is the entire Mayhem attack squad in all their glory. I think it's a good looking set. Some final thoughts, design wise, Rukus is really good. They did a great job of taking Beachcomber and turning him into a completely different figure. Both the robot and alt modes on Rukus look really solid in my opinion. Bludgeon is good design-wise too. There's not really too much different aside from minor remolding to set him apart from the other Tarns and Bludgeon. But the mold itself is pretty great design-wise aside from the visible hands in alt mode. Playability-wise, you can get some good poses out of both of them. And these figures each have weaponizer ports all over them, which is always good for playability. Plus the fact that their own accessories can plug in on different spots on them is a big plus in my book. Transformation wise, Rukus is really simple. Bludgeon's a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. Durability wise, with Rukus, the only thing I'm concerned about is this little peg here up at the top of the knees. Like I said, when you're splitting the legs apart, make sure you're moving them straight apart. Don't try to rotate them, and you'll be fine. As well, that one little peg on Bludgeon's legs that holding it together. You try to move those legs while they're pegged together, you are going to stress and probably break something eventually. So just utilize some caution there. So all in all, this Doom and Destruction collection has been a really solid set. I've liked all the figures in here. The only figure I'd describe as mid-tier is that Malleus Minotaurus, which is, in my opinion, just a lazy repaint, but everything else looks great. What did you guys think? Did you like this Doom and Destruction set? Was there any figures in here that really stood out? I'm curious to hear your comments. Personally, I don't have anything else to say, so thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.